Okay, Bill, welcome to bmxultra.com. Thanks very much for taking
Thank you for having us, Shane.
No problem. I just wanted to talk to you about teams and sponsorship. I think this is an ongoing thing. The industry has lots of different ways of sponsoring people. I'm interested to find out kind of your take and what Supercross do with teams.
Sure. It is an ongoing issue and has been an ongoing issue. And it's kind of funny your timing that you're bringing this up now, because we are in the middle of going through a lot of the team planning for 2023 and 2024 teams. And it's been a hotbed of discussion as of late. We obviously have had an ongoing team for 33 continuous years. So I don't know where that sits us in the ranking of, continual teams in the sport, but I think we're one of the longest running teams in the sport of BMX racing. And we do it for a few reasons. One, we do it because we want to try and give the kids an opportunity to grow and to achieve their dreams and to allow them to become better riders. Two, we do it for a testing purpose, to where we want to be able to try out the new equipment and do some testing to make sure that when we come up with some kind of mad, crazy idea and we're developing it before it goes out to the public, it actually goes out to the test riders and they actually get to help develop it and work with it for a few months, years, depending upon the product, before it actually reaches out to the public. And third, we're doing it for a marketing purpose, to where, having the riders out there using the products that we're developing, hopefully it showcases it to the rest of the world in a better view. I know that that's a little bit different than a lot of the other teams that are out there, because a lot of the teams that are out there, they're running team sheets and they're trying to use it as a money-making venture, and they're using it to be a competitive situation, to where they want to have the number one team, the number one team, the number one team. And personally, I don't think that having the number one team is necessarily based off of how 4 or 5 kids do on one particular weekend to be able to get those scores. It's based upon how you have a group of riders that work well together over the course of years, and how they can promote and work together and ride and activate as, what we've lovingly become known as the BMX family, to try and really move forward with things. So
what does it take to be a Supercross Factory Team rider?
Wow, that's a question that I get asked 5 to 6 times a day, if not more. And there's a lot that goes into it. We aren't necessarily always looking for the fastest rider. We always say that we're looking for great people that just happen to go fast. Melissa coined a phrase. I say it was just a few months ago. She says it was a few years ago. Time flies by when you're getting old, I guess. But she always says that our riders have to be supercrossy, to where they've just got to have that style and that flair. And if you watch the way that Deegan Brown rides, if you watch the way that Josh White rides, if you watch the way that Bella rides, if you watch the way that Lewisan rides, if you watch the way that little Ty rides, if you watch the way that Aiko rides, you can pick them out to where that they're a Supercross rider. We don't push on them to win. We push out on them to make sure that they're great people, that are having a good time, and they work well with other riders, and they do great things for their local BMX community. Little Rider Murky, he's so funny. I mean, I love watching the way he rides. He's just got such a good style, and just, you can tell he's just having fun. And, sometimes he'll win. Sometimes he gets sixth, sometimes he won't make the main, but you can tell he's got heart and he's having fun. And watching KJ ride, KJ's just got that style to where, you can just tell he's having fun. And Shane, I mean, we've talked about this for decades now. I mean, and that's a weird thing for me to say, but we've been talking about this for decades. BMX needs to be fun, and that's what it's supposed to be. I had a customer stop in the shop today, and he was buying a balance bike for his grandson. And he was talking about how he used to ride at the old La Mirada track back in 1977. And it was like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember that track, and he was telling me how, he just enjoyed it so much, and how it was so great watching the riders come out and how much fun he had with it. And now how he's having so much fun letting his grandson be able to have that fun and have that enjoyment. And that's what the sport of BMX needs. And that's what the sport of BMX has always been a part of, not the traditional sport of, win at any cost. I mean, hey, guess what? We all want to win. I mean, that's always the goal. We always want to be the fastest. We always want to be the best. We always, that's what we strive to be in our life. But you've got to have some fun while you're doing it too, because otherwise, you're going to hate it and you're going to leave and you're going to go on and do something different. And I think that's part of where we've seen such a high turnover in the sport, to where you don't see the lifers that you used to see in the sport, because they've gotten so burnt out. They've had everybody just pushing on them and crushing them and ruining their hopes and ruining their dreams, and giving them false hopes and promising them all kinds of different things on a team situation, and they don't stick around for the long haul anymore because it isn't fun for them any longer.
Do you think that's a byproduct of BMX becoming an Olympic sport? And it's almost like the ultimate goal in BMX now is to become an Olympian. It's not to just continue to enjoy racing. And a lot of those Olympians, you'll notice at the end of each Olympic cycle, there's a whole bunch of them that retire. And I'm sure it's because they're burnt out. But it seems to have changed the culture a lot in the sport.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, weird thing. In the 80s, everybody was like, hey, we've got to get BMX in the Olympics. We got to get BMX in the Olympics. Everybody thought that if we could get BMX into the Olympics, it was going to make it become the next biggest thing. It was going to make it become the biggest sport on the planet. That, our little secret sport that we had was going to become the greatest sport in the world as soon as people knew and found out about it. And, the Olympics was going to be our gateway. And Bob Tedesco over at the NBL was pushing for it, oh, we're going to do it, and you saw all the IBMXF and everybody was pushing, and okay, we're going to get it in the Olympics. We're going to get it in the Olympics. And that was always the big dream. And we're going to get it in the Olympics. And I don't know if that was necessarily the right dream and the right path for everybody to be taking. I think that the proper dream and the proper path for everybody to be taking would be to follow more the path of Supercross, which not my company, not, Supercross BMX, but the motocross style, where you build up the fan base and you watch how the fans come and enjoy it. And you make it more of a spectator sport, and you get the fans to come and to watch and to enjoy. Because what we've done now is we've really cannibalized our sport so much that the only people who are truly watching our sport are the riders, the participants, their family. You're not even getting their friends to really watch it anymore unless they're an active participant as well. So by doing that, you've got such a small group of people that are actively watching the sport and actively entertained by the sport, even when you see it on, Paramount Plus or whatever cable network it's on right now for the Olympics or for the UCI World Cups or whatever. Nobody's tuning in, nobody's watching, and you're not getting people who are buying the clothing, buying the stickers, or necessarily even buying the bikes unless you're an active rider. And now with the teams, which is part of where we're having this conversation about, most of the tracks all have their track teams and their buy-in teams. And a lot of companies have their local track team, then they'll have their district team, and they'll have their regional team, and then they'll have their national team, and they'll have their factory team. And all the smaller teams are all buy-in teams where everybody's got to pay to play. And, they're all buying in and they're all throwing money into it to help fund the factory team or help fund the main program. And that's how some of these companies are surviving. And it's sad. And I really hate to see that our industry and our sport has gone into that type of a direction. And it's not the way that it should be.
One of the questions I get asked a lot for different reasons is, I want to be sponsored. What do I need to do? And I always turn it around and say, well, why do you need to be sponsored? Why do you need to be on a team? And it's almost like one of those things where, someone will rock up to a BMX track. They'll start riding their street bike around, and someone will say, hey, you need a proper race bike. Hey, you need, carbon rims, and you need carbon forks. And it's almost like they get pushed into becoming a racer straight away, where that they don't think, well, this guy's having a lot of fun on that bike, let's just let him go. But then the next step after all of that is, hey, you need to find yourself a team. It's almost like the sport drives the direction of these riders to think, well, to be in that mind set, basically.
Well, I don't think it's the sport that actually drives it into that mindset. And I'm not trying to be critical when I say this, but I find that it's a lot of the factory dads, per se, that are actively doing that. And I know with running our track, we've run the Apple Valley BMX track for 15 years now. That's been our local track. And I hate it when I see dads that will grab a new kid and a new parent and start saying, hey, you need to get on this team. Hey, you need to do this because they're going to get you a deal on these parts. They're going to get you a deal on this. You're going to get you a deal on this. And that's been the biggest thing that I've seen with a lot of these teams, is that they're not looking at what they're going to do to benefit the sport. And rightfully so. When they're jumping into the sport, all they're doing is it's a very self-centered thing for them. When you get into the sport, you're looking for what you can get out of it, because that's what you're really doing, is you're enjoying the sport, you're riding it, you're getting what you want out of it. And if you can get a deal, if you can get something for a discount, well, then, hey, rightfully so, go for it. Hey, if I could go to, Juice It Up, and if Juice It Up's going to give me, 20% off because I sign up for the Juice It Up team, well, hey, guess what? I'll sign up for the Juice It Up team. If I can get my little, juice shake for, 20% off every time. What does that do? They're the ones who offered it, so I'm going to go ahead and take it. The problem is when Juice It Up goes out of business in 2 years or 3 years because they couldn't afford to keep Juice It Up running anymore, because they were giving everybody 20% off because everybody was on that Juice It Up team. Well, that's where it becomes a problem. And it used to be that you had, in the US, there were 7,500 bike shops. 2,500 of them were actively carrying BMX racing product. And out of that 2,500, you probably had 1,000 of them that actively had BMX racing teams. And they were working with the local tracks, and they were working with the local riders, and they were doing something to try and promote and build the sport and make it better. And because of all the deals that were going on out there, all the bro deals and all the discounts and everything that started getting thrown around, all those shops decided that they weren't going to carry BMX anymore. And I mean, there's a lot of talk where people are like, oh, it's because of mail order. It was because of this mail order company or that mail order company or this mail order company. And yeah, hey, you know what? Great. You know, mail order companies, did they have a part of it? Maybe. I don't know. You know, everybody's got things that they can blame themselves for. It'd be hypocritical if you don't. But the whole market has changed so much where you've got to really try and focus in on what a team really means. And for a company, a team should not be your sales force. If that's what it's going to be, if it's going to be your sales force, then hey, this is my sales force. And hey, I'm going to give you a discount on this just because you ride at this local track. That's your local track discount code. Then hey, that's great. But don't let the kid think that he's a part of your team and that he has the inside track to become the next factory pro on your team or the next factory amateur on your team because, you know, he got 20% off on his uniform and 25% off on his frame, and you put his name and number on the back of his jersey and it looks like the factory pro. You're doing him a huge disservice by doing that. At that point, you're leading him on and giving him a lot of false hope. And the companies really need to step up and really reinforce that. And the parents need to step up and enforce that too, and understand that, hey, if I'm going to get a deal on something, that's great. I'm going to get a deal on something, but I also need to let my kids know that, hey, you know, I'm buying this for you. This is a part of the package, you know, and hopefully we can make it happen. You know, SC used to have their hot shot program, and, you know, Krupe used to actually have a really cool, you know, Team Green program, but they were super upfront about it to where, hey, you know, here's what it is. You know, you pay your $500 or whatever it was, and you got a frame and a jersey, and you were Team Green. And, you know, didn't mean you were a part of the team, but, you know, you were Team Green. And I think a lot of that's been lost. So the whole program's just really gotten convoluted, and as our sport keeps shrinking, everybody does want to come up and be sponsored, and everybody does think that they need to be sponsored because little Johnny at the track is sponsored, and little Johnny's parents are telling everybody that, oh, well, we get our airfares and we get our hotels and we get our food money and we get this for free and we get that for free and we get this. Yeah, you don't. And I'm embarrassed that you're lying to everybody and telling them that you are. You know, I hate to say it, but it's just one of those things to where, you know, if you're truly sponsored and you're truly promoting the company and you're truly doing a good job for it and you're getting your stuff, then rad. But, you know, we're on the inside. We get to see this, you know, we see what's moving on and we see what goes on. And, you know, we have quite a few companies that have approached us and said, hey, guess what? We'd like to sponsor your team, and, you know, we're going to give you 15% off on our product, but you got to put our logo on your jersey and you've got to put our logo on your banners. And no, I'm sorry. You know, we're good. You know, we'll pass. We'll keep doing what we're doing and moving on. And, you know, we know our value and we know our worth. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got an inflated ego. Maybe I think that we're bigger and better than we are. I don't know. But I want to make sure that we're trying to do it the right way, and we're not putting out the wrong image saying that, you know, oh, we're sponsored when we're not. You know, I want to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Do you have any words of wisdom for people who are reaching out for sponsorship? Surely you get that request quite a bit, and you don't want to just, you know, ignore the email. You want to encourage people, you know, to stay involved, and obviously you don't want to put out any sort of bad vibes for Supercross. So, are there words of wisdom that you provide when people ask?
Well, I try and respond to every single sponsorship request that comes through, which is a little bit of a tedious task. We don't typically respond to the DMs on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, because that alone is overwhelming, because we started to open up some of those. And I'll tell you personally, I get offended when I get a DM that's, yo, dude, sponsor me. Yo, dude, send me free stuff. Yo, I'm the best at my track. Send me free stuff. When I get stuff like that, I don't even want to take the time to respond. And I don't think it deserves a response. But if I get someone who actually sends in a proper email that says, hey, you know, I'm looking for a sponsor. Here's my resume. Here's what my race results are. Here's what my local track is. Here's the local shops that I ride with. They actually fill out an application, and they're actually trying to move forward in a proper term of sponsorship. We'll actually take the time to look at it and see if it's something that would fit into a classification. And I've got a folder that I keep that will save all of those. And even if it's not a potential for a current year, it's something where we'll look back and maybe it'll be a potential for the next year. And we've actually done that to where we've gone back, and we don't have a lot of open positions for sponsorship on an annual basis, because we don't have a very high turnover on our team. And we try and keep the open spots very close. We don't have overlapping riders. We don't have multiple riders in the same class. We try and keep it a very true, close, small factory team. And sometimes we'll have someone move on, someone will retire, someone will quit, someone will move on to a different sport, someone will, after a year or two, not work out with the team. Whatever it is, maybe we'll have a position open. And as we're going through, I'll look through and see, hey, did someone apply before that may have potentially be someone that could fill that spot? And we've actually reached out to people who have applied 2 years prior and said, hey, I know it was 2 years ago when you were interested in looking to be a part of the team. Is that something that you would still be interested in? And we've actually had people go, yeah, I'm still interested. That would be something that I would love to be a part of, you know, but I never thought I'd get the call. And, you know, when we get those emails, it helps put you on our radar a little bit more. Not that if you're a good rider and a good person, you know, you're gonna be on our radar. We are always watching the races. The team riders on the team are always watching the races. The good kids that are worth it will always end up rising to the top. And the team riders will always talk with each other about, oh yeah, this kid, you know, he's a good rider and he's looking for a ride, or, hey, you know, do you think we should talk to them? And, you know, there's always a lot of talk about that in the pit. And, you know, the team riders are always like, oh, that'd be really cool if this person was over here and this would be, you know, and sometimes we'll have riders that will hang out with us that aren't even a part of our team. I mean, KJ, he hung out in our pit for 2 years prior to becoming a part of our team. And now he's been with us for 12 years. You know, it was just something to where he was always just hanging out and he was a part of us. And, You know, he was riding for JNR. You know, it was a different team that he was riding for, but whenever we were around, he'd always just come over and hang out with us. And, you know, he meshed with us. And, you know, here 12 years later, he's still with us. So it just happens.
Do you have a pathway for riders to get to that team? I've noticed over time you've had a Speedline team, and some of the riders would jump from Speedline to Supercross. Is that generally works?
We did have the Speedline team, and I loved doing the Speedline team, and I always thought that was a really good program to do to try and help the riders, that we would see someone that would be ready to be able to get a little bit of help, but not quite ready for prime time yet. And someone that we wanted to move into the pits a little bit and move into the program a little bit and see how they would acclimate in with the group and see how everything would mesh up with everybody. Because that's the biggest thing, is that we want to make sure everybody meshes up. Everybody needs to mesh up well. And not that everybody was always guilty of this in the past, but we had a lot of people in the past that they would get a little angry if we would offer them a position on the Speedline team. And I had a few riders that we were like, okay, well, this rider would be a good rider to put on the Speedline team. And that way we can get to know them, get to know their family, and see how they mesh. And we'd have them come back and say, nope, Supercross or nothing. And it's like, well, I'm sorry. You know, this is the gateway, this is the pathway, and this is the way we're going to do it. Nope, Supercross or nothing. And it's like, well, this is the way that we're doing this right now, and this is the offer for you. And it's like, nope, great offer, but Supercross, that's what we're doing. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And they would get really offended and be really upset, to where they would feel like it was a lesser class team. And it's not a lesser class team. It's just the pathway. This is, you know, the way it would go. And I'm sorry that people feel that way. I'm glad that they think that highly of our Supercross team. I really am. I mean, that makes me very proud to know that people think that highly of our team. But it also makes me sad that people aren't willing to think about the pathway to be able to grow in a program. You know, one of our guys here, we were having a conversation about how things need to be done sometimes. And he was like, oh, it's really easy. It's like a ladder. If you take every step of the ladder, you can climb as tall of a ladder as you want really easy. You just take every step, one step, one step, one step, one step, one step. You'll get to the top really easy. But if you try and jump 3 or 4 steps, you might slip and you might fall and you might hurt yourself. And I had never thought of that analogy before. And I was like, whoa, yeah, it's pretty true. You know, you've got to take those steps to be able to get to the top sometimes.
A lot of people think that sponsorship means they'll just get lots of stuff for free or super cheap, and, you know, have their entries and travel paid. Excuse me. But the rider, there's expectations from the rider as a sponsor as well, isn't there? Of course. They're basically working for you.
Yes, sponsorship really is a job. Yeah. And people have to understand that sponsorship is a job. Once you take on that commitment level of sponsorship as a sponsored rider, you have a certain amount of expectation that is put on to you. And whether it's a certain amount of races that you have to go to, whether it's a certain amount of clinics that you have to do, whether it's a certain amount of hours that you have to volunteer at your local track, whether it's a certain amount of clinics that you need to be helping out with, whether it's a certain amount of social media that you need to do. When you take on the position of that, there is a certain amount of expectation that is put upon you. And that's the hard part that a lot of people don't understand, to where they really do think that it's a one-way street. And a lot of people are still caught up in the idea of win on Sunday, sell on Monday, and they think that, hey, I did my job, I won on Sunday, so I don't need to do anything else anymore. And those days don't really exist anymore. And it's also a situation to where that's great. If it was a win on Sunday, sell on Monday type of world anymore, well, you better be making sure that you win every single Sunday. And even with that were the case, who's the media that's going to let the world know that you won on Sunday, so that people know that you won on Sunday, so that it could sell on Monday? So that's where things have kind of changed up a little bit. And that's where the expectations really have had to change a little bit. And it's
sorry, from a business perspective, is a factory team a bigger seller of products than, say, ads in, say, Pool Magazine, or, you know, online advertising on social media, or Google ads, or, you know, is it really a good sales channel in comparison to others?
It's funny that you say that. I actually have an analyst that's actually running some numbers on that for me right now, because he says no. Personally, I say no as well. But I like having the team.
Yeah.
I like making sure that we have that. I see that there's multiple layers of what gets to go on with the team. And personally, I like making sure that the kids are able to achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. And I want to make sure that that can happen. So there's a couple different little selfish reasons for that as well. You know, I grew up as a BMXer, wanting to be on a team, wanting to be a part of that program, enjoying riding my bike and having fun, and knowing what it was like to be on a team that didn't put expectations on you, just knowing that you were on a team that was, hey, go out there and promote our brand and promote our products and everything will be fine. And knowing how great that was, that I want to try and give that back to the youth for the last 3 decades.
Okay, Bill, so we've only got a couple of minutes left. One question, I think it should be our final question, is knowing all that you know from the many years of BMX you've been involved in all sides of it, if you were a rider thinking, do I just want to have fun, or do I want to be a factory team rider, which would you choose?
Just have fun.
Yeah. I think that's
just have
key,
fun.
isn't it? All right,
Go out, ride, do what you want to do.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why we all start in the first place. You know, it looks pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
I try and tell everybody who gets on the factory team, I try and tell everybody, when you got into racing, it was never your ambition to get free product. It was never your ambition to be on a team. It was never your ambition. Your ambition when you started was to enjoy riding your bike. That was what your goal was. That's what led you on to this whole sport and this whole train ride of a career that you're on right now. So enjoy it. Take everything that you get with, you know, some compassion and with a welcoming breath of, you know, thanks, and just that be thankful and humble and be welcoming for what you get, and just enjoy it, and, you know, pay it back tenfold. you know, and luckily all of our team riders that we have on our team, they do, and they give back to their local community, and they give back to their local kids, and they help all the kids in their areas so that they can achieve and that they can grow. And that way you just keep paying it forward 10 times and 10 times and 10 times over.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Bill, for taking the time to talk to us again.
Thank you, Shane. I appreciate you having me.
And I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds great. You have a wonderful day.
You too, and good luck with Bike of the Year again.
Oh, thank you. I hopefully, humbly, I hope that we can achieve it again. It would be a record-breaking year if we can pull it off. So hopefully people will see kindly that what we've done with the vision and what we have coming up with a new frame that I'll give you some sneak peeks here in about another week will hopefully push us over the edge again, and we can continue moving down that path.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Shane. God bless.
You too.
My question is, Vegemite really as bad as it sounds?
I'll have to bring you some.
Chad, say hi to Shane.
Hi, Shane.
Hey, mate, how are you?
He's emptying trash. He's on a Friday run. He's like, okay, it's Friday afternoon. We got to get going.
Right.
See, look, he ran back in, ran back out again. Welcome to BMX Ultra.